A very warm good evening to one and all. Welcome to the fourth episode of 3G Career Talks by 3G Me Live, an initiative of 3G IRPS headquartered at IIT Madras Research Park, which is an education platform creating a community of 1 million career coaches to address one size fits all education and transform the country by helping students to decode their inborn potential. It was launched in ISB Hyderabad and is designed as a result of 10 years of research by thousands of scholars. We endeavor to empower each student to align their passion with their profession by helping them to choose the right career. And 3G Career Talks is a project to raise awareness about everything career related with sessions and interviews from industry experts. Today, we have such an industry expert, an eminent personality who is a founder and CEO of Crossroads Solutions, a career counseling service firm in Mysore. He is a professor, career mentor, corporate trainer, and a certified global career counselor from the University of California, Extension Los Angeles. He has done his PGD HRM, MBA in finance, and MPhil in management. He had been the head of institutions as principal and dean in Bangalore and Mysore. He has also worked in railways, IT, and education sector, having a total experience of more than 28 years. It's my privilege inviting Professor Shankar Belur over to the dais to speak on the topic. How would a student make the right career choice given in the challenges of VUCA world? Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Anjali.
So, how are you, sir?
Yeah, doing great.
Okay, so when I went through your profile, I saw you were the author of one book named as At the Crossroads, which became the Amazon first bestseller book in the career choices category. And also it made it to the list of books under career choices category of Book of Authority. So what made you write that book? What inspiration brought you to write that book? And who are the target participants for that particular book? That would be my first question, sir.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to answer that. As you pointed out, I've been the head of several colleges in Mysore as the principal and dean. And come every admission time, I used to see a particular trend, irrespective of the college where I worked. I used to see a lot of engineering graduate dropouts wanting to join BCom, BBM, or BA kind of generic courses. And when I spoke to all these kids, there was one common response from them that they found engineering very tough, so they could not complete the course and they were looking for some alternative. And I even had instances where few students had dropped out from the third year. It was just a matter of one more year for them, of hard work, and they probably would have completed their engineering. But after 3 years of being in the course, they realized that is not their cup of tea. And then when I asked them, in the first place, how did you decide or why did you decide to join engineering? Most of them gave me reasons which I found to be very irrational. So therefore, I realized that many students of this generation are making wrong choices and for the wrong reasons. So I felt, it's my moral obligation and responsibility as someone who has come from industry and now being part of academics to guide them make the right choices. Therefore, I thought a lot about this particular aspect of students making the wrong choice and later suffering the consequences because of that. I've even seen some students, where they lost their self-belief. They lost confidence in their own abilities. I've seen students who have gone into depression because of wrong academic course choices. And when I spoke to such kids, usually it used to be, either the parents forcing them to take up a particular course or they feeling that, a particular course is good enough to get them very lucrative job offers. It will help them make more money. It will help them, travel the globe around. So these were some of the misconceptions based on which, they made their choices and they were suffering the consequences because of that. So therefore, I thought there is an imperative need to guide these students on how to make the choices. So that is where the idea of this book was born. And as you pointed out, I'm very happy to share that with all the viewers that this not only we went on to become Amazon #1 bestseller, it was also recognized as one of the all-time best books under career choices category by Book Authority, a San Francisco-based leading portal which curates and recommends non-fiction books.
Yeah, so happy to have you here. So that is inevitably a biggest contribution for the career choices, like for the career industry as well. So thank you so much for pointing out that everyone can read that book. The name of the book is At the Crossroads, so which is also available in Amazon. Okay, so next question will be related to the career. Students will be having many myths. So what are the common career myths which students should avoid? That will be my next question.
Yeah, you're right. Many students used to come to me and ask me, sir, what is the best course available in the market, or what is the best career I need to aim at? So I always used to, counter question them. Who in the world will decide what is best? Is it some government authority? Is it the society, in general, which is going to decide, or is it the media, your parents? Who is going to decide? In fact, if you ask me, that very notion of something is best compared to others is a myth. You should not look at your choice through this prism. In fact, you need to understand what is good enough for me, what is best for me. You need to look from your own perspective. For that, you need to have clarity with regard to what is that you want to accomplish out of that course. Because a course on its own is not going to give you anything unless you have a predetermined objective. Your goal should be very clear, and your course is something which should take you near to your career goal or your career aspirations. If not, that course is not going to help you much. In fact, I would like to share some of the common myths, right, which the parents think or the right way of making the choice, or students think is the right way of making choice. But I have found from my experience of counseling hundreds of students that there are certain common myths, and I want to share that with all the viewers. The first thing, most of the parents and students might feel choosing a career is a very simple process. Absolutely no. Because when we talk of career, we are actually talking about the most productive phase in an individual's life. Because generally a career starts somewhere in early to mid 20s, goes on to early 60s or late 60s. So it is 35 to 40 years of your most productive phase in an individual's life. So if you get this choice wrong, and the consequence obviously is going to follow, and there will be lot of negativity in your life. There will be a lot of grumbling, complaining, and you just can't carry on with it. Because for an individual to sustain something for a very long period of time, he or she should be absolutely comfortable and enjoy what they're doing. If that's not the case, then it's going to impact their every sectors of their life, like their personal life, their professional life, their married life, their financial goals. Everything gets impacted by your career choice. So they better make the right one. And the second myth, what generally I've seen among students, is there is one perfect career for me. It's not like that. Because every individual, based on certain parameters like their personality or their interest or their strengths or their skill set or their learning style, will have matching with more than one career choices. So end of the day, they need to ascertain, they need to understand what is probably the best one amongst the shortlisted one. And generally they feel when they come to a career counselor or a career mentor, they think career counselor is going to decide on their behalf. That's not a career counselor's job. A career counselor is supposed to act only as a facilitator. I should enable, empower, and guide the students, help them make the right career choice. Because at the end of the day, it is the kids or the students' career. And we all know that from our experience that this life is all about an individual journey. Though we have a fantastic family system in eastern part of the world, especially in India, but as the saying goes, your support system can only walk with you, but they can't walk for you. So
Right.
end of the day, it means it is the student who needs to do all the hard work. A student or the youngster needs to put in all the efforts so that they go ahead in their career. So they need to enjoy that particular process. So we as a support system can only help them do well. And the next myth, what I generally say is, once I understand my passion, I am settled for life. It's not like that. Because see, for example, let us understand a student has literature as his or her passion. But the thing is, in the market, is there a career which is paying for someone's expertise in literature? No, other than literature, the student or the youngster has to equip themselves with certain skills. For example, if you're good in English literature, I've seen many, who actually feel bad that in spite of academically doing so well in their chosen domain, even getting gold medals from universities for having taught the universities, most of the time they are found wanting for jobs. That is because the corporate dynamics are completely different from the academics. In academics, the orientation is different, but in the corporates, it's a very simple process. Until and unless a candidate or a potential candidate can prove that they can add value to the organization, they are not going to hire them. Because we all know that no corporates run for charity, and they don't hire someone for charity also. You need to be able to prove your competency. You need to be able to prove that you are going to add value to them. Only then they would be interested in you. And for you to prove that, other than the domain knowledge, you should also develop the required skill set. So this is how we need to think long term. But unfortunately, students feel if I realize my passion, I can make a career out of it. 9 out of 10 times, it's not that easy. They really need to work around their passion. And finally, most of the parents feel they're the best judge of their kids, so they can
Mm.
help them make the right choice. I want to tell all the parents, right? See, end of the day, they might be your kids. It's just a coincidence.
Right.
They are different individuals. They are on their own. Their DNA is different.
Mm.
And as and when they grow up, based on their experiences, they will have their own perspective and understanding of life. They will have their own dreams and aspirations. A doctor's kid need not be successful as a doctor,
Right.
or a lawyer's kid need not be successful as a lawyer, because we need to understand it, especially in the Indian middle class. We have this kind of notions. A doctor's kid is supposed to be a good doctor, or a cricketer's kid is supposed to be a good cricketer, or an actor's kid is supposed to be a good actor. We have seen n number of instances where this myth has been busted. So therefore, we need to understand the kid holistically, understand what they are good at in terms of the skill set and strengths, understand what their interest aspiration lies. And finally, we should be able to align all of this with regard to some long-term career, which not only pays them to be successful, but also makes them happy in the long run.
Beautiful answers, sir. Like I really like the way you have presented it, like the myths, like the way you said, like most of the parents they demand that their children should follow the legacy which they have followed. So that is something which we have to break, and each individual is different. So talking about the careers, today we see that there is thousands of jobs emerging, every day in the job market. So among that, how can we choose a right career for a particular individual?
Yeah. In fact, compared to the previous decades, right? We all know that, especially I'm talking of the Indian context, right? Indian economy is doing really well, though we have some volatility, and especially since couple of years because of the COVID pandemic. But still, on an average, Indian economy has been doing well since 1991. We all know, what a watershed year that was because of the liberalization policy decisions what then Prime Minister PV Narasimha Rao undertook. Fortunately for India, the liberalization policy did give us, a lot of economic benefits, and economic sector opened up. As the sector opened up, the GDP growth rate also started going up. In fact, we even went on to achieve, double-digit GDP growth rate on in certain quarters and for certain fiscal years. So all that what it meant from a job market perspective was the aggregate demand in the market was more for goods and services. Therefore, the corporate started producing more, creating more job opportunities for youngsters. So today we have lot of sectors which are really doing well, and in couple of sectors, India is certainly the world leaders, in terms of our contribution to the world's global GDP. But the problem is, as I already told you, corporates don't run their organization for charity, so they don't hire for charity also. It means they should be able to see some significant value or USP in the potential candidate. Now, the question is, how should a candidate or a student prepare themselves so that they'll be later successful in getting the job of their choice or to kickstart the career of their choice. Now, if you take, a typical ninth or a 10th grader as an example, for them, they have another 3 years of their schooling, then another 4 years of their bachelor's program, another couple of years of their post graduation. So typically, we are looking at a time span of around 8 years on an average for them to hit the job market. So between now and then, a lot can happen. And therefore, it is all the more imperative that the student and the parents have a plan and a proper roadmap so that the kid can prepare themselves. So, how should they prepare themselves is the question, right? First thing is the student should understand themselves. As the saying is, know thyself. You need to know yourself better in terms of, because generally what happens, especially I've seen in Indian societies, we are very judgmental. We form an opinion and we impose our opinion on kids, especially when they're growing up. So in a way, we try to condition them. So this is something which as parents and as the support system we need to avoid. We need to just help the kid, encourage the kid. And I've got a policy here. Encourage the kid to explore. So from exploration, let them experience different facets of life. And from their experiences, if they learn the lessons, they are going to evolve as an individual. And this evolution will help them enjoy their experiences and then become, better in terms of their efficiency and contribution. So having understood this process, the first parameter which the individual or the student or the kid should understand is what is the kind of personality I have. Because if the career or job doesn't match your personality, you can take it from me, you are not going to sustain yourself in the long run. Because you will feel so, it's like fish out of water. You'll feel so uncomfortable in that environment. So
Right,
your
you will feel
job,
suffocated.
yeah, your job or your career should match your personality. So that's why understanding your personality type is very important. Next is you should understand your strengths and weakness. Very, very important. Many a times, we actually overlook this. We don't understand our strengths or weakness. And if we choose a job or a career according to my weakness, then we all know what will be the consequences, right? Or the outcome. So understanding the strength and understanding what my strengths are and what my interests are. Because if you don't find your day-to-day activities or your job activities interesting, then again we know the consequences. So personality, the strengths and weakness, the interest, the learning style, because every individual will have their own learning style. So the question is, what is your learning style? How do you prefer it, right? So you should have an understanding of that. Then you should have an understanding of what is now widely known as EQ or emotional intelligence quotient. To be simple, it only means this: a student should understand not just his emotions, what he or she is experiencing, but also need to understand the emotions of the counterparty or the person with whom he or she is interacting. So that will help them to have a better interpersonal relationship and also have a qualitative and effective communication between themselves. So EQ is also an integral part which the student or emotional quotient should is also an integral part which a student or a candidate should understand about themselves. After having understood themselves, objectively in all these parameters, then the next logical or the next logical step would be to scan the external market, right? You should be able to see certain career areas or certain kind of job profiles which matches according to all these parameters. So this is some sort of an alignment is what you are saying. Your personality, your interest, your strengths, your emotional quotient, your learning style, your career motivators, your career interest, all this should align with whatever is the job profiles or the careers which is available in the market. And then third step is you should be able to match. So once you are able to match according to all these parameters and shortlist, okay, these are 2 or 3 or 4 careers which is probably in alignment with what is that I am anticipating or I am expecting from my career. And then you need to do your own research to understand that each of that career, understand it in depth. Now you only know the basic or the horizontal understanding of the career. You need to dig deep, do some mining, do some research, do your homework, understand how typically that job would be there, how it is in terms of a job profile. Because end of the day, you might have the skill set, you might have the abilities, and it might match your personality also. But if the interest is not in that particular kind of career or a job, then again, it's not going to match you. So therefore you have to do your own research and then match it up. So basically, to put it simple, it's a three-step process. Understand yourself in terms of these parameters, understand the job market with regard to what are the job options available, then do the matching. So this is a three-step process. If this is done rationally, if this is done based on certain scientific tools and algorithms, then 9 out of 10 times the candidate or the student is more likely to come up with the right kind of career fitment.
So very well explained the holistic approach of choosing a career. Like I never knew that like learning skills, no, like the learning style will be considered while choosing the career. That was new information for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to add one point there. As you said, learning probably most of us in India, we had not given it too much of prominence. But
Right.
let me tell you, in today's world, gone are those days, when someone could survive a career in the long run based on just one skill, one qualification. Those days are simply gone. Today
Mm.
the technology is impacting so fast, and every sector of the economy is being impacted by technology. Today you should always be very flexible in terms of unlearning, relearning, and new learning. This is a continuous process. Earlier it was considered a virtue. If someone was flexible enough to learn new things, people used to praise him. But today, you can take it from me, that is the norm. That is the norm expected of every student who will be entering the job market. They should be so flexible in terms of their unlearning and relearning. If they don't do that, right, then because technology keeps changing so quickly. Because earlier the technology used to change once in a decade. Now every year we are coming out with something new, because that is the kind of advancement which is happening. So unless you have that ability to relearn and unlearn, you are going to really struggle in your career. I mean, you can't sustain yourself.
That is a beautiful answer, sir. Like, no, everyone focus only for learning, but unlearning is equally important. Like, no, we all are conditioned from the childhood. So, beautiful answer. And so, like, now, if you have rightly said that the technology is taking over our industry, like every day, few of the jobs are getting not a number of jobs are getting automated. So, will the human value diminish in the coming days? And if it is diminishing, will the jobs vanish from the market? So, could you
Yeah.
please comment on that? Yeah.
Yeah. Because as a common man, we all have heard of artificial intelligence, automation, machine learning, deep learning. We know about 3D printing. We know about augmented reality, virtual reality. I mean, today we can talk about so many technological jargons, but end of the day, we all know that technology is indeed impacting us. I just want to give a small example. When Amazon started their business, way back in US, they started with only two products: music CDs and books. And I believe in the case study which is documented, everyone laughed, or they didn't give Amazon a chance to survive, because they thought, who is going to order for music CDs and books, right? And over a period of time, how Amazon has transformed into one of the most technologically big and strong companies the world over. Today, probably Amazon's global balance sheet would be more than many nations cumulative GDP. It has grown that strong. So what we need to understand is, we have a lot of examples like Uber. It's a cab aggregator, or a Ola. They don't own anything, but still they're one of the largest in terms of the revenue what they are generating, or a Swiggy or a Zomato. So what we need to understand is, technology has been impacting every sector of our economy and our life as a common man. So with this happening, there obviously would be some sort of a dilemma or a question here, right? If technology is so impactful, and if is it eating into human roles? The whole idea is, to what I say earlier, it was basically labor intensive economy. We had more of humans doing the work, right? Over a period of time, with improvement in automation and technology started doing more of the job. So humans were basically used only to monitor the process. So just to put the things in proper perspective, I would just like to quote World Economic Forum's report of 2018. They have made it very clear: by 2030, that is in by the end of this decade, out of the total work done globally, 52% would be done by machines and only 48% by humans. So what it essentially means is we started with assisted intelligence where humans used to make the decision and machines only used to help them to implement the decision. From assisted, we moved on to augmented intelligence. In augmented intelligence, we make decisions in collaboration with machine output or machine inputs, whatever the machine gave in terms of report. Suppose I work with a complex system, a computer system, and based on the report what it gives me, I will decide in collaboration with the machine what should be the right decision. And from augmented, today we have moved into autonomous intelligence where most of the decision making is done by the machines. So humans, we basically are just monitoring it or giving them the right kind of inputs. And what will be the fourth or the fifth generation of this artificial intelligence? I think God only knows. It just feels like that we are talking about some science fiction movies, but whatever we thought is part of fiction is today reality.
Right. Yeah. True.
So therefore, the whole idea is if this is going to be dominant, if this cannot be reversed, yes, I agree this cannot be reversed because this works in favor of the corporates.
Right.
Instead of hiring 15 employees, it's better that you invest in one machine which is more productive and efficient than your 15 human labors.
Right.
And since you're also giving it intelligence, it is also intelligent enough to make certain decisions on its own without any human intervention.
Right.
In, for example, Internet of Things,
Mm.
where one machine or one system interacts with the another system to make a decision without any human intervention based on the parameter which has been set. So going forward, any repetitive or any monotonous kind of a work would be done by machines, of course, exponentially more efficient than humans. So it means all these kind of job profiles are simply going to vanish from the job market. That is for reality. Now, is this a cause of concern if you ask me? Certainly yes, and also no. Yes, provided you still think even after 10 years, 15 years, all these kind of jobs is going to remain in the market. If you have that kind of a misconception, then I'm very sorry, you're not seeing the writing on the wall. But if you understand, okay, this is something, it's like a tsunami, you are seeing the signs, it is going to come and hit you. So if you plan for it, if you prepare yourself for it, certainly you can look at it as an opportunity. So what it essentially means is now humans have to develop certain unique skill, specialized skill, or what corporates call it as a hybrid skills. So on
Mm-hmm.
one hand, you have to work with machines. You just cannot wish it away. On the other, you should also develop unique human skills.
Okay.
For example, problem solving.
Mm.
If you don't develop yourself on these parameters, then in fact I had I had seen a cartoon where people applying for jobs, there will be job vacancy, and in the queue you'll have both robots as well as humans waiting in the same queue. It means you're not just fighting with the globalized workforce for an opportunity for a job, but you also have to compete against the machines. So this is the future, whether we are going to like it or not.
Okay. So as you rightly said, our future, like, no, it is little shocking that we have to fight with the robots. And so, like in this emerging competitive world, like, no, how a student can prepare themselves to succeed in the future.
Yeah, that's a very it's a very important and urgent question which we need to address. As I was already mentioning you, if we are very conventional in our mindset and approach, if we are still focusing only on academics, then I should tell all such students and parents, you better change yourself pretty quickly, as quickly as possible. Because here I would like to quote, till 2019, we had Miss Ginny Rometty as the IBM's global CEO. She was replaced by, I think, Anand Krishna of an Indian origin. Before she quit her post, she addressed a press conference, and what she said in that press conference, made headlines globally. The essence was this: she said, going forward, I have made changes in the hiring policy of IBM. And what was the hiring policy was, we are not making college degree or a formal degree mandatory anymore for hiring. It is not a mandatory criteria. Then on what basis are you going to hire your potential employees? Based on two important parameters. One is the skill set. Do they have the skill set which is required for that particular project? And second thing is, their emotional quotient would be assessed. If they have high emotional intelligence quotient and if they have the required skill set, then they are open enough to come and work in our company. We don't bother whether they have a formal college degree or not. And you know that if America catches cold, the entire world is going to sneeze, because even today America is one of the most powerful, or the most powerful in terms of economy, though they have got their own share of problem. But what starts in America usually catches with the entire global world. So what lesson in India do we have to learn from this is, and it has already started. If I take it from my friends who work in the corporate, they have been saying, now most of the foreign MNCs or the progressive MNCs are not insisting on formal college degrees.
Right.
In fact, they would like to test you more on your skill set and more on your emotional intelligence quotient. So this being the case, the students really have to prepare themselves in terms of their personality.
Right.
This is something, because people talk about attitude. They say you need to change your attitude, and my contention is you can't change your attitude unless you work on your personality. Because
Right.
for me, it's a very simple process. Your attitude comes from your personality,
Mhm.
and from your attitude is your behavior. So if you have to change your behavior, then you need to work on your attitude. And if you have to change your attitude, then you have to work on your personality. So that is why, I request all the parents, other than focusing on academics, please also ensure that you give good value system to your kids, and you help them to have a very robust and a strong personality.
Right.
Because from there, it will help them to take off the challenges what the future world, the VUCA world, is going to throw at your kids. Because we all have seen, COVID pandemic has really given us some sort
Great
of
lesson.
a wake up call. This
Right.
pandemic has changed a lot in the corporate world. Earlier, for any company to kickstart, they needed a geographical space where,
Mhm.
under one roof, all their employees used to, put their head together, work for, the projects. But today, as you can see, they might be sitting at different parts of the globe without impacting the productivity. People are still working,
Right.
results are being delivered. So therefore, we need to keep all these changes in mind, and therefore, build that flexibility within the kids, give them a good value system, help them to build a very robust personality, a very positive attitude, and a professional behavior, other than giving them skills, and also helping them make the right kind of career choice. Today, there's plenty of opportunity, but that doesn't mean that corporates are going to hire any Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Right.
They don't mind keeping the vacancy unless they get the right kind of person. So
Mhm.
you have to develop, the kids or the student have to develop themselves, create that USP. Because
Mhm.
when the HR or any business manager asks you, why should I give you the job? You cannot say I've got a college degree. Because like in the queue there are a number of people with the similar college degrees. So you have to think, how can I differentiate myself? So this differentiator is very important, and it has to be very unique to you.
Mm.
So if you develop this USP, then you can tell them with confidence, sir or ma'am, I have this within me, using which I can add value to your organization.
Right.
So if you have that conviction and confidence in your abilities, in your USP, then you can survive, no matter how competitive the world is going to be.
Beautifully explains that. Such a great personality is here. So, participants, if you have any question, please post it on the comment box. So we will address the same. And sir, like you rightly said about developing the EQ in an individual. But I have seen the a trend like no, everyone will be focusing on IQ. So, like, could you please comment on that? Like, no,
Yeah.
should we give more importance for EQ and why it is uh, more important than IQ? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just to answer your question in a lighter way, Nina, Anjali, actually, if you ask me, sir, what's your mobile number,
Mhm.
I'll have to give myself at least 30 to 45 seconds to think about my mobile number, because
Right,
I don't have to remember it, right? I don't have to remember what is the registration of my car.
right.
See, these are data. See, IQ is all about memory.
Mhm.
IQ is all about, getting out the data from your hard disk. There was a time, even when I started my career in Indian Railways, I was pretty young then. In the interview, I still remember, it was, I think, in the year 1989. The questions were, how long Nile River is, what is the height of some, Himalaya mountain. So it was all data driven. It means
Mhm.
your IQ should be good. But today, please understand, today we have, these huge computers with, very powerful servers, and we have cloud servers also, which can store, trillions and trillions of, your data.
Right.
So there is no need for human brain to just store data. That is exactly, why students who are still, doing rote learning or memorized learning would not be able to survive the computation which is going to stare, which is actually staring at them.
True.
So the whole idea is IQ is past. No, it is obsolete. If you ask me, I with a lot of responsibility, I'm making this statement. Your IQ is obsolete. No
Mhm.
one is going to bother you about it, because you have, systems which can take care of all this data. Human memory has a limitation. I can only store as much data. With time, even, that will be deleted automatically. I forget that. But unlike the systems, even after 1 year, you can retrieve the file, you can retrieve the table, any number of data you can store, and you can also manage your data. So IQ is not required. Rather, what is very important in today's complex world is, let's understand, in VUCA world, why we call it VUCA, because there's a lot of volatility and ambiguity and complexity. Today, we are truly living in a globalized world.
Right.
Prior to 1991, India was a very secured, or a more of a socialist kind of an economy. But today, if you go to Bangalore or any, bigger cities, you go and see the companies, where most of these MNCs, are stationed. You can see a lot of foreign employees working in those campuses. Of course, because of COVID, we don't see that. But once normalcy restored, you can see a lot of foreign employees, or the reverse brain drain is happening. Why I'm talking about this particular aspect is, today you work with globalized workforce. Your colleague can be from Norway, or someone can be from Australia or US.
Mhm.
Those can be your team members. So there is an imperative need for you to understand the culture, different cultures of the countries, because
Right.
you have to keep interacting with them. You should know all the etiquettes. You should be able to understand their emotions, because see, it's very simple in communication. If you don't know what is the emotion your counterparty is experiencing, then
Mhm.
most of the times, the communication is going to go wrong, or there will be some gap in the communication. So not just understanding yourself in terms of what exactly is the emotion you're experiencing, because when you're angry, if you know when you're angry, common sense says you should not talk,
Mhm.
because usually when in anger, when we speak, right, we speak nonsense. So if I know I am angry, then what I am going to do, till my anger subsidizes, I can stay away and then I can join the meeting. So the whole idea is, today, irrespective of individual genius, corporates only want those kind of individuals who can gel well with the team. They have to be a perfect and a competitive team player. So for this, what is very important is EQ and not IQ.
Okay, beautiful answer, sir. So like how you said, no, that like rang a bell on my head. Like many people will be having the same degree. So like no, like we should have definitely have the soft skills to compete. So how important is the soft skills, and like no, while choosing the new age soft skills, what all points a student should consider in order to like no compete with the industry? Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you ask me, right, I will even go on to say that it is these soft skills, right, using which you can create the differentiator.
Right.
See, hard skills are technical skills. There'll be very, minimum space for you to differentiate. Because if you learn Python, more or less everyone can learn Python the same way, because it is a, fixed context. I mean,
Mhm.
the template, or syntax, whatever you call about the technical skill, it's very fixed. You cannot be very creative with it. So everyone can learn it the same way. But when it comes to soft skills, right? I generally call these soft skills as transferable skills.
Okay.
Why I call them transferable skills is very simple. Today we all know that corporates work on projects. They are all project, their revenue is all project driven. So the technical skills what you probably use for project A, probably the same skill might not be required for project B or C, because they work on a different platform, different technology. But these soft skills are something which is going to help you enhance your productivity and contribution towards the cause. For example, communication, leadership, team building, critical thinking, problem solving, and I am stressing on this particular two aspects, critical thinking and problem solving, because today you look at any successful business venture across the world,
Mm.
they have been able to come with solutions to problems which the society is experiencing. If you even look from a marketing perspective, it makes a lot of sense. If you are able to identify or come out with a solution to a problem, then you have a business model there. Then you
Right.
have a great business idea which will find acceptance in the market. So therefore, soft skills is very important, which is going to improve your efficiency, which is going to give you that extra edge.
Mhm.
And therefore it's, I call it transferable skill, because across the projects, the entire span of your career, you require these soft skills. It could be anything: communication, critical thinking, problem solving, design thinking. See, design thinking today, I train a lot of corporate employees on this particular concept, but it's a very common sense concept. What is design thinking? You are looking at the problem from end user's perspective.
Mm.
You are trying to see. I remember, there was one operating system from Microsoft, from MS. Microsoft had invested a lot. Till then, that was the most costliest operating system which came from the stable of the Microsoft. But you'll not believe me, it flopped completely because people did not find it user friendly.
Okay.
So end of the day, the success of any product or service or an idea depends on market acceptance.
Right.
So whatever you do, you think, adding value, finding a solution, you have to do from the end user perspective. There is a more of a common sense approach, which is part of your design thinking process. So that's why I feel that today's generation should think more about soft skills, and even parents should insist. If you ask me, can we create an environment or encourage the kids, to learn the soft skills at home? Certainly, yes.
Okay.
And I would like to share, voluntarily one tip, with all the parents. They can just try it at home. You will have to give certain mandatory skills to your kids. In fact, if you can Google and find out, I think her name is Angela Lee Duckworth. She has given a TEDx talk on, which kind of student or what kind of students are more likely to succeed in their life, not
Mhm.
just career, in their life in general. And she corresponds to my understanding also, because I also believe in this. I have been talking about this. There's one factor across situations, across contexts, this one X factor which has helped lot of students, youngsters, to succeed in life.
Mhm.
And I think most of you might be curious to know what is that one X factor which will really help a kid, right? And that is nothing but grit.
Okay.
If your kid has that grit, if your kid has that perseverance, if your
Mhm.
kid has resilience, if they have that sense of purpose, then you
Okay.
can take it from me. There is nothing in this world which can prevent your kid from being successful. Now, the question is, how will I help the kid develop grit? Because there's something which has to be developed over a period of time.
Right.
So, for that, the answer is, from based on my experience and the research, it is give your kid positive and growth mindset.
Mhm.
See, growth mindset will help the kid think about possibilities. They don't want to be judged, or they won't be, overwhelmed by the outcome. Rather, they would be very keen to try different ways, would like to put efforts, and they would be, like to be assessed based on the efforts and the intention and not on the outcome. So for them, outcome doesn't matter. And this is what Japanese management philosophy always insists on: put the right process in place, outcome will take care of itself. Therefore, my suggestion to every parent is, please ensure that you develop grit in your kids. The best way of doing it is, from their childhood days, give them assignments, give them individual assignment. No matter if they do wrong also, absolutely no issues, but let them go through the process. If they fail, allow them to stand up on their own. You don't go and immediately pull them out. Let them also, because for me, setbacks can become a failure when you don't want to try again, when you don't want to try one more time and say, I will give up. The day and moment you give up in your mind, then that becomes a failure for you. Till then, it is just a setback, it is just an experience. Learn the lessons from your setback, learn the lessons from your experiences, evolve and grow. So if this growth mindset is given to kids, I think they will become grittier person, and survey has proved that it is a grittier person who are most likely to succeed, not just in their career but also in their life.
That was a very valid point, sir, because like no, nowadays I have seen, especially in India, parents won't allow children to take decisions themselves until they are of a certain age. But like no, like the decision making capacity will be developed only if we allow the kids to make decisions from the childhood. So parenting also plays a huge role for
Yeah.
deciding the career.
In fact, Anjali, if parents are interested, just one bit of information I want to
Right.
give. In Stanford University, there was a professor by name Carol Dweck. Carol Dweck. In fact, he conducted a research on on this particular topic, how to develop grit in students. So if
Mm-hmm.
parents are interested, they can Google and get that report. Probably they'll get more inputs on this.
Okay. So could you please repeat that name of that first lady? Like you said, no TEDx talk
Angela Lee Duckworth.
that word and Stanford University, so that parents who are watching this, they can just Google it
It's
and
Carol Dweck,
Carol.
Carol, Carol
Okay.
Dweck, Dweck. He's a professor from Stanford University.
Okay. So that was a very good information, sir. And like no, how you said about this parenting and developing the grit. Like how important is uh is is that part-time job? Like no, students should involve in part-time jobs in the smaller age in order to decide a better career and in order to develop these soft skills. Will it help them to improve these soft skills? Because in India, most of the parents have this status issue and all, and they won't allow the kids to go for part-time jobs.
Yeah, I know. Because we have certain conditioning, we feel part-time jobs or internships, right? It's only for people from economically weaker background, so they need to earn some money for their survival. It's not like that. Say, I'll give you a simple scenario. Assume you go to a restaurant. So your
Mhm.
server will come and give you a menu card, right? So it will have hundreds of options. Now you've got two choices. Either you decide
Mm,
what you want, or if you can't decide for yourself, then by default someone else will decide for you.
right.
So when someone else decides for you by default, what's going to happen is they're going to decide what they want to eat.
Mm,
And that dish, you might like it or you might not like it, you might not relish it. So therefore it is always better that you take your call, you make your choice. I always tell kids, when it comes to your life, and if the decision is affecting them, it's better that they be part of the decision making process. This is my humble request to all parents. I am very proud that some of the parents who have come to me have that open mindset. But some, I see them, still being pretty conservative, in the sense,
conditions.
they feel that their kids should not be given the responsibility of making a choice of their. End
Mm,
of the day, it's their life.
right.
So good or bad, be with them, support them and help them. And talking about internship, I want to, go to the old, though I might sound cliche, I would still want to say, it's all about tasting and understanding what is my cup of tea.
Mm,
See, if you look at it literally, if you have 10 cups of tea, different flavors of tea, you can drink every cup of tea and then decide which is the best you like it. But when it comes to a job, you cannot kickstart a job or a career, work for 1 or 2 years, and then say, okay, this job is not for me. because you don't have that much of time, the lifespan is pretty limited for every individual. So therefore it makes a lot of sense that during the school days, as and when you get an opportunity to intern in an organization, you should take it up wholeheartedly because of couple of reasons. One
Mm.
is you are going to understand in the real world how a business organization works, right? How a decision is made, what is the hierarchy in the organization, what is the etiquette expected of you, right? What are the rules and regulation discipline expected in the professional world. So this will help you to understand whether you will be comfortable, do you enjoy working in that kind of an atmosphere. And second thing is, you will also understand what are the skill set you need to develop in order to be productive in that particular career. And third thing, you can make out very clearly whether that is your cup of tea or not. Instead of joining full time and then taking the risk during the student life, if you can, intern or take a part-time job, it is later going to help you in making, the right career choice. So I always advocate students should indeed explore this internship offer. Today, though, we have a lot of virtual internships also being offered because
Right.
of this COVID pandemic. I want the students even to explore that particular option. But before we make the final choice, that's the right way to do. If not, then they can, come to someone like me, a career counselor or a career mentor, where they can go through the process of psychometric assessment, understanding objectively, in terms of the personality, interests, and all these parameters, and then help them, to explore. That's why I make it very clear to all parents and students who come to me. This career exploration is not a one-time activity, because people feel, if I go for counseling one time, this is going to give me a formula. I'm sorry, I don't have any such magical formula, because every individual is unique. The whole concept of career counseling, every individual is unique,
Mm.
not just your DNA. You are unique in a lot of faculties. So we have to explore and understand what exactly fits you. And as I told you earlier, there's nothing like only one thing is going to fit them. Based on the abilities, based on the multiple interests or multiple intelligence of the kid, there might be two, three, four, five different careers which actually might be suitable. So then, the question comes now, what is that I really want to do? This is where the internship is going to help. So if you do internship, it will make your decision more rational and more informed.
True, sir. So rightly said, and like no, talking about all these new advancement, we had a new education policy which came up in 2020. So how it's going to affect the students as well as the education sector? Could you please comment on that?
This was probably one of the, it was high time, it was long awaited, and finally some political will has been shown in order to change, what was supposed to change long back. Because as a school kid, I remember I have spoken about this topic in a lot of debates, in the competition, whether school education has to change. Finally, when I'm in 50s, something nice has happened, so I'm all for it. I would just like to give you, few major highlights or essentials which is going to impact the students life and career once NEP is implemented from next academic year.
Mm.
First thing is, now there is a lot of focus on vocational courses.
Right.
In fact, if you look at countries like South Korea, Taipei, why they have progressed, I mean economically progressed so quickly and fast, is because they have a very high level of vocational course in their country. Compared to them, we are nowhere there. That is
Mm.
one of the reasons. Because see, you look at our generic programs like BA, BSc, BCom, most of that, after you complete that, you will be without job.
Right.
Even engineering course today, or an MBA for that matter, I can say a lot of people do their MBA with a lot of expectation, aspiration, but post MBA, they work in a very routine, normal kind of a job which probably doesn't require any MBA.
Mm.
So the whole idea is, present education system is actually not adding any value to the kids, not helping them gain, that expertise or competency so as to match to the industry expectation.
True.
Therefore, what this NEP is doing is, it is focusing on holistic education. Because till now we had rote learning, we had standardization in education. One question will have only one correct answer. If we don't allow the student to think differently, And today, we grumble and crib. We don't have any innovative companies, innovative products from India because people have to innovate.
Mm.
And since their childhood, we only tell them this question has only this answer. You mug it up. You learn by rote. So we are not allowing the kids to think. Now, I firmly believe, and all psychologists are probably will believe that every kid is a scientist, on their own. They have that inquisitiveness. They have that natural curiosity in them. What we are doing, in this education system is we are snubbing it. For me, this is a crime of highest order because you are playing with the generation's career, their future, and also the nation's future. Why today we don't have a global product brand in India? Because the same people, if they go to a different ecosystem, they
Mm.
become a Indra Nooyi or a Sundar Pichai or a Satya Nadella. But same people, when they work in our ecosystem, they just have to follow the thumb rule and go by the rules and regulations. So questioning is not allowed right from a student days. But
Mm.
fortunately, now this NEP will encourage the teachers not to be teachers anymore.
Right.
The teachers have to be facilitators. They just have to facilitate. First thing is they need to ignite that spark in the kids. That inquisitiveness, curiosity should be ignited, and then encourage the kids, because today, internet is so strong and all prevalent. I call it, technology is next to God. Like how God is present everywhere, today even internet is available everywhere, and it is impacting every individual's life. So internet will give you all the information what you require. Today information is not premium. You get information, access is very easy for you, but the thing is knowledge and wisdom is scarce.
Right.
So what we have to really do with this NEP is this is going to prepare the kids to question the thumb rule. See,
Mm.
unless you question, you cannot innovate. Unless you destroy, you cannot create. So constructive destruction is what the kids have to be taught. It's not just a laboratory should just be for the sake of some sort of showcasing. The kid should be allowed to use the instruments, break something, redo something. This is how the generation will become innovative, will become creative, and this is what NEP is focusing on. And second important aspect is by the time the student completes 8th standard, they should be ready with the choice of their subjects, because ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th, this 4 years is one block, higher secondary.
Mm-hmm.
And in this 4 year block, on an average, they are going to study 40 subjects. It's not exact, around 40 subjects is what in this 4 years. And from ninth standard, it would be semester exams.
Mm.
So if you break this 40 per semester, around 5 subjects is what you are going to study. So in this five, either 2 or 3 would be mandatory, other 2 or 3 would be optional. That
Mhm.
should be your choice, the student's choice. Here, if you don't make the right choices of subjects, later it comes to bachelor's program after your 12th standard, that will be a big limitation for you. You cannot pursue certain bachelor's program because you have not studied some subjects in your schools. So therefore, it's very important that parents, students, and teachers understand. That's why NEP has made it very mandatory that every school should have a career counselor like me.
Mm.
But given the the profit orientation of our school managements, I doubt whether they're going to hire people. But it's mandatory. If schools don't do it, parents on their own should take the kids to resources like me, understand the kid after the psychometric assessment, and then help them make the right subject choice. So this is how this is going to give a new dimension. It's going to shift the paradigm from rote learning, memorization, to focus on the term and exams, to learning. The focus will be back on learning. So the excitement and fun aspect of learning should be back according to NEP policies aspirations. I hope and pray that all stakeholders will take this seriously and contribute, so that the next, at least the next generation of India, will be able to contribute and impact the nation as a whole.
Actually, for the PTA meetings, like it should be like parents, a counselor, and the students. So they.
Exactly, exactly. Because a counselor can have an unbiased view of, because they can understand both sides of the story. And sometimes, though parent might be unbiased, but the kid will always see them as biased.
Mhm.
Many a times, when they come to me, because I generally do counseling with both parents and the kid. Many times I see parents, sir, yeah, even we told him the same thing, but he did not agree with you. He's saying yes. That is because they see me as unbiased, and that is going to help me, right, to put the information in the right format so that they think about it. But
Mm.
generally, I feel the schools should have, as you rightly pointed out, counselors also, in the process. They should be in the loop so that, because going forward, career exploration, career planning will only become more tougher and more challenging because of more options. Nothing else. Because of more options is one. Second thing, as I already told you, technology is impacting the future big time. No one, it's very tough for even to visualize, contemplate what's going to happen. So therefore, basically, as I said, right, if you take a typical ninth grader student, for them to kickstart their career, it's anywhere between 8 to 10 years of lifespan. So in this 8 to 10 years is a pretty long time. Lot of things can change. The job profiles can change. The job market dynamics can change, and what the industry expects from you might change. So that is why I have come with this concept, classroom to career, where
Mhm.
virtually to monitor them, to mentor them. More than monitoring, it's mentoring them, because as and when they hit a roadblock, someone should be there, right, to help them, right, to take the detour, which way, so it's a continuous workout. So that's why what I have done, I have decided I will take only 100 kids. So I think now I am 70 plus, so that after that I'm going to put a full stop, because it's too much of work from my end also.
So as you rightly said, so like no, a student have to consider about the career, like why they are in eighth standard, because after they're going to the college, they can't change a particular subject. So like, is it like what is the right time to approach a career counselor? Is it seventh standard or just as they finish their seventh standard?
I think Anjali, eighth standard would be the right time, because even psychologists say, right, by the time kids are around 14 years, their personality would be more or less be set. And because in psychometric assessment, we will also assess their personality type. So
Mm-hmm.
there should be no fluidity there. So 14 years is what? So 14 years generally corresponds to 8th standard, and that would be the right time. It's like this, anyway, you have to have a plan, you need to explore, you need to make a choice. So if you give yourself more time, it would be better, outcome would be better, because you have more time to plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that someone in their bachelor's program, post graduation, because I even get young professionals who, especially from the IT sector, because by default they would have taken engineering and joined some IT firm. After 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, they feel coding is not their forte and they're not enjoying the job.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Right.
more of outgoing person. They're more of realistic people who want to go out, explore, adventure, those kind of people, but stuck in a 9 to 6, 9 to 7 kind of a job here. So they want to quit, but they don't know what to start next, because they want to be very sure this did not go well. So the next thing, I need to really do well there, or it's going to hit their, one is their confidence and self belief, and second thing, we know, especially in the middle class society, we are so judgmental about people, and if they keep hopping jobs, right, we tell them, he's not able to survive in any one particular thing. So it's very important that before you decide, right, what is the career direction, and how you need to plan, what are the skill set you need to develop. That's why I also have made a module of the soft skills.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of them, when I say communication, they only confuse it to talking. Communication is synonymous with talking. I say, boss, talking has very limited weightage, because when talking, we are talking of the verbal communication, words. And we know that psychology has proved that the effectiveness of your communication to the extent of 93% is dependent on, non-verbal communication. Your facial expression, your tone, your body language impacts the efficiency of communication, and your words will constitute just 7% of effectiveness. And active listening is very important, but today's generation have a lot of attention deficit. They're
Mm-hmm.
hyperactive, so they don't tend to actively listen. So we have to actually train these kids, for active listening, communication, leadership. That's why I made this skills training also part of my concept, because when they move out of my process, more or less, they should be readily empowered to face the challenges what both career and life throws at them.
So as you rightly said, so like one point strike me, like most of the companies, multinational companies nowadays, like they will check for that stability.
Yeah,
Like if a student have scored 60 percentage in 10th, and if they are scoring 80 percentage in 12th and 90 percentage in college, they won't consider such a kid. So like what is like why they are considering that stability of marks in 10th, 12th, and graduation level? So could you please comment on that?
yeah. In fact, if you ask me personally, I am also victim of this particular, MNC hiring policy. See, my MBA, I did it on distance mode from
Mhm.
ICFA University. I didn't go to a conventional college, day college to do my MBA because I was working elsewhere. And one of the reputed homegrown MNCs in IT sector, when I wanted to shift from Bangalore to Mysore, when I applied for a job, I went through all their process. Finally, they rejected me because they said, you have done your MBA.
Hello. Sorry, sir, you went on mute.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So therefore, what I feel, this sort of conventional thought process in hiring will certainly become obsolete. It might take 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years. You can take it from me. It is wrong because what they feel, an employee should be consistent. Now you tell me, I am a human being. I am rational as well as irrational. That
Right.
depends, on my mood, my emotions, on the situation. Based on the context, I change, right? I'm not a robot. You cannot program me. And what sort of consistency do you want?
Mm.
See, as an individual, right? Based on my circumstances, that's why I tell the students this, particular ratio. You should take the case study of every successful individual in this world.
Right.
They all have very positive, robust mindset.
Mm.
Because see, the external environment you can't change. You don't have any control over it. But
Mhm.
what control you have is on your mindset. If you have proper robust mindset, because see, everyone has been successful at different stages in their life. If you take Colonel Sanders of KFC, he
Mm.
started
Great phase.
KFC in 70s and he succeeded. When Warren Buffett was asked in one of the interviews, do you have any regret in life, he said
Mm.
this: I started investing when I was probably 11-year old. I think I should have started earlier. At 11 year, we would be, playing, with the kids of our age on the streets, and he has the regret he should have started earlier, in terms of investment. So that's why I say everyone will have their own timeline. So we don't have to, be consistent and fit into a particular template. And I certainly, again, I don't approve of that. Of course, they don't need my approval, but I personally don't approve it. So now, luckily, all that is going to change because formal degree itself will lose its relevance.
Right.
So you will be treated, or you will be evaluated, assessed based on your skill set, based on your emotional quotient, based on your mindset. And for all of this, you need to work on your personality. That's why honing personality is a very important aspect, which most of us we are ignoring it. We're
Mm.
only focusing on academics or some hard skills, technical skills. Soft skills and personality, we are ignoring it. But if you take it from me, it is these two which is going to make or break your career in future.
You rightly said, sir, like individuals, they will evolve when we are thrown into different circumstances. Each day we will be evolving. So a wonderful talk, I have to say, a lot of insights, a lot of inputs. So like before we ending up this session, would you like to share any particular message? Would you like to share any message to the students who are watching this?
For all students and parents, just this small humble message or thought I want to share with all of you. Let's understand, we all are unique. We don't have to fit into any particular template what the society has said. There's nothing like best course or best career. Everything is best. The whole idea is what is best for you, what is more suited for you. That is what you need to understand. And this career exploration is a part of that. Okay. And please don't compare yourself with anyone else. If some A has succeeded being a surgeon or a doctor, because maybe that A has that competency, that ability, that strength to do well in that career. You're different. A doctor's kid, as I already said, need not be a doctor. They can be a lawyer. They can be, anything else, not necessarily a lawyer. So this is the kind of freedom, what parents need to give to kids. And today's economy is certainly doing well. There are a lot of unconventional new age careers which has propped up. So the whole idea is you need to explore, understand, and for that you need a career counselor or a career mentor like me to be with the kid, because as I said, classroom to career, at least 8 to 10 years of that, right? If there's no one with the kid, right, to monitor them, to help them, guide them, inspire them, motivate them, and correct them if they go wrong, then in all certainty, the kid is going to make a choice based on its limited understanding. So if you do with limited understanding, then why I'm saying limited understanding, because there was a recent survey, and the survey pointed out a very surprising fact. It was done amongst all these elite and international school parents. 78% of the parents were not able to name even more than 7 to 8 career choice. Whereas we have some 2000 plus documented career choice at this point in time. So just look at the awareness in the cream of the society. Then if you come to the bottom of the society, we can as well understand. Therefore, please take the help of any career professional, talk to them, understand the strengths, or the aspirations or the personality of your kid, allow them to make the right choice, and then support them, encourage them, so that your job is to equip and enable. Let the wings fly high, let the bird fly high, enjoy when they soar. Because as a parent, you feel that gratification. Okay, all the effort, all the support what I gave to my kid finally has been fruitful.
It was really insightful, sir. I have to say, there's a lot of inputs within a short span of time. You have covered a holistic, like, how we have to take career counseling and what are the benefits. I have to really thank you for the same, sir. And like before we are ending up, I saw, like, while I was going through your profile, I saw a YouTube channel. So could you
Yeah.
please mention that as well? So if our participants want to connect with you and if they want to know and learn more about more from you, like, they can always check on that YouTube channel. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, the YouTube channel is bilingual. My mother tongue is Kannada, so it's in certain videos are in English. Certain, I've used both Kannada as well as English. The whole idea was, there was a small incident, and the incident was, a kid committed suicide because it failed in exam.
Mm.
And obviously the parents did not take it in the right way. They scolded the kid, and end of the day they see the kid is not at home, and night when they went out in search of the kid, the body was floating in a well.
Okay.
That made me think, I mean, we today take pride in our technology. We say we have reached Mars, we have reached Moon, we are even trying to, build a colony in Moon and Mars, but we are not being able to reach out to, people, kids around us, because that is the most vulnerable phase, in an individual's life. As kid, they will be dependent on their parents, on their support system. They have not cleared the exam, but they are not a failure as individual, because I always believe that life is certainly bigger than academics. Academics is just only one component of life. Just because they have not cleared a subject, don't call them a failure. Maybe that is not their cup of tea. See whether they can do some vocational course. See if they're not good in science, whether they're good in commerce or good in humanities, literature. They're, see, the world has opened up. Today, you don't have to be conventional and tell them only if you become an engineer or a doctor, you'll be successful, or else, you can't, nothing like that. Let the kid decide what is success for themselves. Don't enforce your societal conventional parameters that you have to have a Gadi bungalow and this much of bank balance, only then you'll be successful. No, today's generation, they're certainly aspirational and they want to explore life. So allow them to explore life within the safety parameters. Let them experience it. Let them learn from the experience, evolve, and start enjoying life. If you can help them, put this process in place, then I certainly think, we all, as stakeholders in this generation's future, we have done our job. With this intention, I've started my YouTube channel. So I've put on few videos. So anyone interested can, go through it. I will be keep adding, more videos, in future.
Okay, so I have shared the sir's contact number and YouTube channel's link in chat box. So all the participants who wish to connect with him, like connect with Shankar sir, can definitely reach out to him through his LinkedIn as well as to his YouTube channel. So it was really insightful, sir. Like a lot of insights, lot of inputs. I'm sure like those who are watching this will be really benefited from. Like you have covered it in a holistic approach, and I really love the way you explained it. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your valuable inputs. And all the participants, just come to the chat box. How was the session? Did you like it? And what value it added to your life from today's session? So thank you so much, sir. Once again, thank you
Thanks,
for
Anjali,
taking your time and
and thanks
coming.
all the participants who are made time to attend this.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah,
So
bye.
here we come to the end of fourth episode of 3G Career Talks, which is a project to raise awareness about everything career related with sessions and interviews from different industry experts. We'll be meeting with different industry experts in coming episodes, and you can always watch our recording in our YouTube channel 3G Me Live. Also, you can follow our Facebook page 3G Me Live for the updates and for the recordings of the previous sessions. So here we come to the end of this session, and I thank all the participants for joining in. Thank you.